Here's the next project that we're going to tackle. I have a Glock 26 blank slide, and what that means is, except for the things that are needed to make it function, it doesn't have any additional milling. Well, actually, technically this one's got the chamfers, but there's no serrations or anything like that. So it is a blank canvas for us to customize to meet our needs. I have never done anything in stainless steel, much less the dreaded 17-4 stainless, which is what this is made of. So we are going to put a red dot mount in here. And the reason that's going to be a fun little project is it's not only going to involve learning how to mill 17-4 stainless, but we're also going to have to tap 17-4 stainless. Before we get into the details, there are two thank yous I'd like to make. Firstly, our in-mill friends across the pond in Taiwan, Speed Tiger Tools, and a shout out to Husky Armory for hooking us up with this slide. To get started, we first need to do our modeling work. And here I've laid out the approximate length but exact width of a Glock 26 slide. And voila, there I have my model of a slide. You might think to yourself, well, how are you going to get away with that? Every time I see someone else work on Glock slides, they've got these complex, super high fidelity, every single bit and piece and dimension is perfect. They look like a real slide models, and then they go and work off of those. Yeah, those are handy. And if you're doing really complex work where you're worried about potentially interacting with internal mechanisms and details, or you want to be sure that it's going to look exactly how you intend it to when it goes kind of through a section into a hollow or whatever for some lightning cuts or windows, absolutely, it's worth spending the time to build those models or spending the money to buy them. However, I want to introduce a concept that if you can wrap your head around it and be okay with it, it'll really save you a lot of money and headache, and that's going to be called necessary fidelity. What I mean by that is, how high a fidelity of a model do we need to ensure success for the outcome we are trying to achieve? Again, you might need a very high fidelity model to do complex windows and lightning cuts on a slide. But when we're just doing an RMR footprint cut, and we can go measure an existing slide to figure out where it sits and how deep it is, I'm not really worried about interacting or hitting internals. The one place that I know I'm going to hit an internal is the plunger hole. But again, we just use a shorter screw for that. So I'm not worried about all these complexities, so I can get away with a lower fidelity model. And in this case, it's just a block. Now, because this is stainless steel, and I have heard that if you take too small of a bite on stainless steel, you can prematurely dull your bits. And because of that, I am going to go ahead and model in the chamfer. But that's truly as high fidelity as we're getting with this. Like, this is it. This is my model. Now let's go ahead and let's start talking about the RMR footprint itself. So here you can see I've modeled out the footprint. And there are a lot of different places you can get this information online. They all differ a little bit, I've found. A little bit different for the length because there is some slop that people build in, some don't. It really depends on how tight a fit you want. And then the other one is people tend to disagree on what the curvature of this front profile tends to be. I got that measurement off of someone that I trust, so I'm going to use that measurement as my curvature. But other than that, you really can find this information pretty readily available in a lot of places online. All right, so let's take a look at what we did with this. So I placed the back of my RMR footprint 0.63 inches away from the back of the slide, again, because I had access to a 26 slide that had an RMR cut, and that's where they placed it. I also just took the measurement for how deep they went, which was 0.167 inches, and that's how deep I'm going. The one I have access to, though, does not have the positive indicating nubs up front, and so that, again, I just had to look at some information online, and it seems to be that they are about a 1/16 of an inch tall, or 0.06 inches to be more exact. They are a nice to have, though. A lot of Glock slides don't bother to put those in. What I will say, though, is if you're gonna put them in, that's a really tight spot there. And although we are going to use a very small bit in order to cut out this profile, it's not that small. So we're going to have to relieve some of that. Now we're going to be using a 1/16 of an inch bit. I don't want to do full slotting in stainless steel through here. What I'm going to do to help there is I'm going to do an offset of this curve by 75 thousandths of an inch so that I don't have to do full slotting at depth with a tiny bit in 17-4 stainless steel. So that'll just help us out. And two last things, we are going to put our holes in. These are 632 holes. Again, I just measured them off of an existing slide. They go 0.3 deep from the face of the RMR cut down. And just to make things elegant, see these sharp corners here? We're gonna round those over with a 30 thousandths fillet just because we like elegance. Okay, let's get into the fun part, the actual milling. And there's only one setup necessary to cut this. I used a wiggler to get the sides of the slide, and that gave me a Y0 in its center. I used the back of the slide to get my X0, and the top of the slide gave me my Z0. The vast majority of the work here is done with a single cutter. So let's take a look at that. It's a 1/16 of an inch 4-flute bit. It is this one here, and I was using the profile for any depth roughing conventional cut direction. It says conventional, but I actually ran it climb cut and it did just fine. So that is what I was doing. Every single milling operation that you see here except the thread milling was done with this bit with that profile. The interesting thing though is when I was setting up the geometry, no matter what I did, plugging the holes, not plugging the holes with the surface, no matter what, it wanted to pretend like those were already milled for some reason. And so what it would do is it would try and just go directly deep into there. That would have snapped this bit if I hadn't figured that out. I don't know why, but what ended up making this work is just turning on stock contours, and that fixed everything. For my step overs, I was looking at 10 thousandths of an inch, and I did leave radially some stock here at 6 thousandths of an inch. And I chose that number because that allowed my bit to get through these areas here, these tight spots, while still doing an adaptive clearing path. So that's how I ended up at that number. And so that's what it looks like. This took a decent amount of time to run, but it was fairly painless. I then came in and did the exact same bit and feeds and speeds and cleaned up the edges both at the front here and back using a 2D contour. To do that, I literally just selected those edges. One thing to keep in mind though is I actually did a negative 0.02 of an inch stock to leave. And the reason I did that is because I actually milled it with 0 stock to leave, so exactly matching my drawing. And although the red dot fit, it was really tight. I'm talking like scratching the red dot on the front and the back tight. So knowing that I was going to Cerakote this, I didn't really want that. So this made it fit still decently tight, but with enough room to be able to Cerakote it as well. If I did this in the future, starting from scratch, I would just draw that spot a little bigger. And you'll notice that when I went and did the cleanup of the edges of the boss, exactly the same as my edge cleanup here, I did not do any additional negative stock to leave because that fit just fine. The last thing we do with this bit is to clear the boss tops. Again, this is an adaptive clearing path with our 10 thou step over, no stock to leave. It just goes down to a depth necessary to allow those bosses to fit up into our red dot and positively index. Next, let's talk about drilling. I'm going to show you my feeds and speeds for this 1/4 inch spot drill. I wouldn't trust them. It worked just fine, as you'll see, but I think it worked just fine because I only went down to a depth of 30 thou, so I really wasn't asking it to do a lot. And the reason I say that is, let's look at my deep drilling with a number 32 drill bit. This is where I really had problems. So what happened, let me show the video. It got through the first hole and broke through into that slot just fine. However, the feeds and speeds were inaccurate enough that it broke and dulled the bit during that process. So when it came and did this second hole here, it only drilled at about half the depth necessary because the bit was just so screwed up and my feeds and speeds were so incorrect. I didn't notice this, and so when I went to do my thread mill, as you can see here, it tried to dive all the way to the bottom of the hole and just shattered. That hurt. Those are not cheap bits. So even though Speed Tiger was nice enough to give it to me, it still did not feel good to break it. My original feeds and speeds when I first tried it were these here. And not only was I not having the correct RPM, but I was also not having a very correct plunge per revolution value. I found this recipe online. Tells you sometimes what recipes you find online are good for. After that failure, I found another recipe online that told me to drastically slow it down, so I tried it here at about 700 RPM with a 0.0013 feed per revolution. This allowed me to finish up this hole after resharpening the drill bit. However, it's still, the drill wouldn't have survived much longer. I could see it already starting to dull and flatten on the tip. So this is still not a good feed and speed to use. It got me through the job. I tested the depth to make sure it was correct, and I went on with my life. But as you'll see in a second, I am going to show y'all correct feeds and speeds for 17.4 stainless that I will use moving forward. So once I was able to get my holes nice, I was able to come through and use my thread mill. This is a 2.45 millimeter thread mill that'll do threads between 48 and 32 teeth per inch. And you can see my cutting data here for 17.4 stainless. It ran wonderfully, wouldn't change a thing. Very happy with how this ran. What I will mention though is if you don't know how to use thread mills yet, I'm gonna flash through all of my settings for this. However, I will do a specific video on how to use thread mills in the near future, simply because they can be a little finicky to understand, and obviously these are values set up specifically for this thread. The other thing I want to mention is that I had a 0.3 inch deep hole. I only threaded 0.26 inches of that, and the reason is you got to factor in that that drill bit has a pointed tip. A 2.45 millimeter thread mill is a very thin, fragile mill. I didn't want to risk breaking a second one by trying to thread all the way down at 0.3 inches, especially since I didn't need that full depth. So
I factored in a little bit of depth to account for the tip of the drill bit not fully clearing out the hole, and only went 0.26 inches deep. Let's talk what worked. So when I went and did some more tests on stainless steel, I don't know why I try and look online for recipes anymore. G-Wizards never let me down, and it was the same case here. I came in, I plugged in the parameters of my number 32 drill bit, I told it what I wanted to cut, and I set it at just medium conservatism, and it spit out this recipe. I tested it, it worked flawlessly. As you can see here, sounded great too. You can actually hear it cutting instead of breaking the drill bit. So not only is this recipe fantastic, it also worked in a pre-hardened state of 17.4 stainless, H900 state, as you can see here, which is what this piece I was cutting was. The slide wasn't even pre-hardened, and I was having problems. So this recipe is definitely the way to go. And actually, we can look at what happens if we change it to a non-pre-hardened state. Let's choose annealed instead. Yeah, it doesn't change it a ton. It changes the RPMs a little bit, feed rate a little bit, but not really a lot. So I don't know why I have to keep learning this lesson. It's like G-Wizard works, just use G-Wizard. 17.4 is not that hard when you have good feeds and speeds. It's absolutely brutal when you don't. And here you can see what the tip looked like after I resharpened it and did these 3 holes in the pre-hardened stainless. It looks just fine. Hope that helps.
And there we have it. Finished product, screws installed, nice stable red dot mount.